until now, you still would not have as much money as his 10% stake would have been. Wayne traded away for a mere $800. If only he knew then what we know now. He would have realized value for such a cheap replacement. I tell you Wayne's story today not to suggest that I am some sort of investment guru. Do not ask me about investments. I was convinced Facebook would not make it. I was convinced Bitcoin was a scam, and I was convinced. But right now we're in this series called Prone to Wander. Statues that people bowed down to, though these were idols, but idols can take on many forms. In fact, over the last couple weeks, we said things in our lives that might take on the place of idols for us might be things like our phones, the news, the computer, politics, drugs, alcohol, relationships, materialism, self-ego and self-sufficiency of humanity, sexuality, comfort, money, power, success, physical appearance, and so much more. We said this is not an exclusive list of idols, but idols, we would define it as this: anything that steals our heart away from God, anything that makes empty promises of hope and satisfaction and meaning, but lacks the sufficiency and the power to fulfill those promises. And over the last few weeks, we've examined the impact that idols might have in our lives. In fact, over the last few weeks, I've been able to have conversations with people after services where people would say things like, man, my heart's convicted. God's moving, God's saying something. And yet, here's the difficulty, here's the wonder, is we've talked about the idols. We can take away their power, we can turn away from them, that they are nothing to replace the beauty and the wonder of God. As we talk about all of these things, as we feel convicted together, yet the reality is, as we look back on our traps with the idols, that we're starting to recognize a little bit more. And here's why. Here's why I believe we do that. Recognize the problem of idolatry in our lives. We still think that they are something that can be tolerated. We still think they're not ultimately that big of a deal. And so today, what I want us to focus on is, what is the cost of idols? Because here's what I believe. I believe a lot like what Wayne did all those years ago. Sometimes we take something of immense value, of ultimate wonder, of ultimate authority, what God has offered us, and we trade it away for something worthless. Idols. An image of some promise that cannot fulfill, that cannot sustain. I want us to understand this. When we pursue idols, they will require a sacrifice. Not in the sense of an animal or